George Gerbner argues in his theory Cultivation Analysis that media have gradual influence on our society, which is different from other media effects theories that rather focus on targeted and specific effects.
Camera's role, capturing frightening riots.
That it's depressingly clear that putting their sex lives on display was part of their deal with the filmmakers.
This week.
Yeah, she's known for this late night partying, the clubs, the discos. It's pretty safe to assume that alcohol is available there.
Unlike in other media effects, the media influence in the cultivation theory is harder to detect due to the fact that it happens over long periods of time and is not unidirectional. Cultivation is not equal to the relationship by which media influence society, but also society influences the media. Although audiences hold a lot of agency within the television and media markets, cultivation is seen over a period of time after the same images are consistently being aired in the television medium. Most of what we know, or we think we know, we have never personally experienced, but rather experienced through television. Today, these stories are coming directly from the television. People who have extensive exposure to the television medium perceive the world differently than those who are subjected to fewer amounts. For example, MTV mainly targets audiences within the ages of 14 to 25.
MTV is really different and cool, and it's into the whole teenage scene, and it's something really that's just totally different from everything else.
And the trouble with this arises from our culture's new fad in which parents are becoming less involved in their children's lives. And these adolescents are gaining their information on topics such as drinking, sex, and violence through television programs. For the first time in human history, a child today is born into a cultural environment in which television is on an average more than 7 hours a day. For the first time in human history, most of the stories, most of the time, to most of the children are told no longer by the parent, no longer by the school, no longer by the church, but essentially by a shrinking group of global conglomerates that really have nothing to tell them, but have a lot to sell. The problem with this is that young children whose minds still need to be molded with the help of their parents are being molded by television.
Gerbner talks about cultivation, which means that without our minds or our behavior, television tells us stories that continually shape and reinforce a particular way of seeing the world. When the same images and patterns are shown on television over and over and over, viewers tend to mistake the fictional world of TV for the real world. This is evident with violence on television. Images of violence are continuing to appear on television, whether it be in news, drama, or reality TV. It seems as though the more violent the scene, the more viewers a show receives. The problem with violence continually appearing on television shows is that the severity of the issue is masked, and the young adults gradually begin to believe that the violence they see on TV is acceptable. Most recently, MTV produced a show, The Jersey Shore, in which one of the characters, Snooki, is punched in the face by a male.
Have you seen this new reality show called The Jersey Shore on MTV? But on the tease for last week's episode, they show a woman, she's one of the characters, she's in a bar, and you see a guy who's also in the bar, and he just clocks her. He punches her in the face.
Gosh.
MTV originally decided to air this footage, and the scene of her being punched in the face became a YouTube sensation. Many began to mock the violence and make jokes out of it. However, the violence and domestic abuse is an important and serious issue that is being undermined by media heavyweights who are simply calling it entertainment. With violence not only appearing in reality TV, some television viewers are suffering from what is called the mean world syndrome, in which the viewer begins to fear the world as being an ultra-violent place as a result of the violent images continually being aired on television. UMass professor Michael Morgan found that 60% of the light viewers, 70% of the medium viewers, and 80% of the heavy viewers think it's dangerous to walk alone at night.
Why does simply paying a lot of attention to television seem to be cultivating these exaggerated and distorted perceptions of the world as more violent and mean than it actually is?
So the heavy viewers are more likely than light viewers to be afraid, and heavy viewing cultivates the way of thinking about the world. As Dr. Gerbner points out, this cultivation of fear has some broader social ramifications. Images of women in television are highly sexualized. This is becoming an increasing problem, especially for young female audiences. It seems as though to be on television, an actress must meet the unattainable standards of being perfect, such as having the perfect body, which most of the time is the result of plastic surgery.
Montag, who famously melted down on last year's I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, had a brow lift, nose job, chin reduction, neck liposuction, fat injections in her cheeks, nose, and lips, and also had her ears pinned back. She got new breast implants, buttocks implants, and liposuction on her waist, hips, and inner thighs. A full head-to-toe makeover.
Also, scantily clad women are the latest fad on television. For young women, it has the effect of tending to reduce their sense of adequacy and their sense of opportunities, potentials, and a range of activities in which they are likely to be seen as appropriate and as adequate and as successful. Disney is a large contributor when shaping the young minds of girls, mainly with the portrayal of Disney princesses. Every Disney princess is skinny, with the perfect hair, smile, and personality. The young girls have the false perception that this is what they must look like when they are older. However, in reality, this goal is most often unrealistic. In all Disney movies, it seems as though the princess always needs to be saved by their prince, or giving up something to obtain their happily ever afters. For example, Ariel in The Little Mermaid gives up her voice in order to win over the man of her dreams.
Now sing.
This sends the message to young girls that in order to fall in love, you must use your looks and sexuality. The danger in this is when young girls go to socialize in the real world, they will try to use their body and sexuality in order to gain success. Underage drinking is constantly being portrayed in television shows, and it always adds to the drama of the show. The most popular shows in television for viewers 14 to 24 seem to have drinking in it, and usually the drama or climax of the show arises from it. Drinking is being showed as an acceptable form of passing the time for young adults. This is unacceptable and is a dangerous idea to give off to young people. Underage drinking is an illegal and dangerous activity that needs to be recognized by the media industry. Continuing to undermine the severity of drinking will only lead to dangerous activities and habits for young people. Whenever a person turns on the news, there is always a story of a young adult falling victim to an alcohol-related incident.
Underage drinking, blamed for killing 2 students at the University of Kansas earlier this year, is under assault in part by a bar.
One could surmise that this increase of alcohol-related incidents involving minors is the result of the repeated images and storylines involving underage drinking. Experts agree that watching high levels of alcohol consumption makes viewers more likely to participate in underage drinking activities. Recent research shows that underage alcohol consumption is increasing.
The cultivation theory is the gradual influence that media have on our society. The images we view on a day-to-day basis progressively are being instilled into our minds. Over time, we begin to view what we see on television as reality. Because television has become our electronic storyteller, many fall victim to believing every message being sent. If parents retook the role as the primary storyteller, children would not have to rely on television to provide them with a sense of the real world. Because, as we have seen as a result of Gerbner's cultivation theory, relying on television can have a negative effect on children and society as a whole. All of these stories of television, of violence, of power, of sex, class and age, and race, they're all intertwined. They form a coherent system of stories that we absorb over long periods of time, and they give us stable ways of looking at the world. And even if we ourselves don't watch that much, everyone else we interact with does. What Gerbner has shown is that there is something very important at stake in storytelling. The stories of television are not neutral. They're not just entertainment. They cultivate our values, our morality, and our beliefs about other people.